Welcome back everyone to another episode of Coffee and Molter. Well, today we're going to talk about the Daemonculaba. The Daemonculaba, maybe people usually don't know what it is. It's one of the most grimdark things in Warhammer 40,000. In actual fact, Games Workshop did not continue with the Daemonculaba. They did not really want to expand upon this particular topic, let's just say, because it is very, very dark and quite disturbing. It's fundamentally based upon the profound and disturbing transformation of women, specifically to enable them to gestate the formidable Space Marines, a process orchestrated entirely by the malevolent and corrupting forces of chaos. So, well, the first and only appearance of the Daemonculaba was in the Soul Drinkers novels. And well, in those books, the Daemonculaba was described in great detail. And the truth is that Games Workshop never mentioned anything about it again. As we've said, it's one of the darkest things in Games Workshop's lore. It's not even comparable to the profound communion of countless souls with the revered Golden Throne, that entire monumental undertaking of perpetually killing or sacrificing 1,000 powerful psykers every single day so that the vital Astronomicon continuously keeps shining brightly. It's even more grimdark than, say, the Penitent engine, which uses the pain of the Penitent to power the machine. It's just so grim, dark. So let's take a look at what the Daemonculaba is. By the way, many sincere thanks to one of our incredibly supportive patrons, Roberto, who was indeed the very person who generously gave us a valuable hint about this particular and fascinating topic. And so we've thoughtfully decided to further develop this important topic a bit more extensively for all of you, our wonderful audience. So let's get to it. The Daemonculaba is, without a doubt, one of the darkest and most disturbing concepts ever introduced in the Warhammer lore, 40,000. It's an element that appeared in the Soul Drinkers trilogy of novels, written by Ben Counter, and which today Games Workshop considers completely apocryphal. It was never part of the main codices, and after its controversial appearance, it was silenced forever. But what exactly was the Daemonculaba? The best way to describe it is as a horrific system of biological and demonic manufacture of the Iron Warriors under the command of Warlord Honso. Obsessed with engineering and the idea of multiplying their forces, these traitors sought a way to create their own Space Marines without relying on traditional methods or the original gene seed of their Primarchs. The result was the Daemonculaba, an experiment that combines technology, heresy, and a level of depravity impossible to match. The process began with the abduction of human women on worlds that fell under the tyranny of the Iron Warriors. These prisoners were brutally transformed through mutations, forced surgeries, and the implantation of demonic machinery. Their bodies were shaped against their will to turn them into living incubators, swollen into forms barely recognizable as human. These victims became true wombs held captive by chaos, fused to tubes, iron, and blasphemous rituals. The Daemonculaba was not an external machine, but the degradation of the human turned into a factory of flesh and corruption. From these wombs, no children were born but horrors. Most of the births were grotesque abortions. Masses of deformed flesh that survived only for a few moments. Others resulted in mutants who were enslaved and used as cannon fodder or experimental material. But every now and then, a specimen would emerge that was considered viable, a being that, with enough manipulation, could become a Chaos Space Marine. For the Iron Crusaders, this method theoretically allowed them to produce an unlimited number of new warriors to swell their ranks. The Daemonculaba represented the absolute corruption of the ideal. While for Loyalist Marines, the process of recruitment and the implantation of genetic organs is a sacred ritual, for the traitors of Onsu, it had become a grotesque parody, an act of boundless cruelty. It was not about creating heroes or defenders of the Imperium, but about forging monsters, slaves of chaos born from pain and perversion. In fact, in the novels, The soul drinkers are horrified by the existence of the Daemonculaba, which underscores the level of abomination that this process represented. However, the Daemonculaba also generated enormous controversy within the Warhammer community. The topic of space marine reproduction has always been a taboo in the lore. And the introduction of such a graphic method, based on the exploitation and forced mutation of human women, was seen as something unnecessarily disturbing. Games Workshop never mentioned the concept again in any book or codex. And to this day, it is considered part of the buried lore, those dark curiosities that were relegated to the past. In conclusion, the Daemonculaba is one of the most extreme examples of just how far grimdark can go in Warhammer 40,000. A concept that takes the idea of chaos to its ultimate expression, total dehumanization, the corruption of life, and the perversion of the sacred. Perhaps that's why it never appeared officially again, but precisely for that reason, it remains remembered as one of the most disturbing ideas ever written in this universe. And now the question for you is, do you think Games Workshop should bring back such extreme concepts? Like the Daemonculaba, even if they're uncomfortable and disturbing? Or do you prefer that they remain buried forever? Please feel free to leave your valuable opinion in the comments section below, because the debate on this topic is currently ongoing.